Frank Muto and I got to know one another quite unexpectedly and ironically. In the final months of Frank's legendary stainless steel sheet metal shop in Etna PA, FCS, or Frank Custom Stainless. Our introduction happened in fall of 2021. Coronavirus pandemic concerns remained very intense, and I'd gotten no interest from the fabricators I normally relied upon for projects like the one at hand, commercial-grade stainless steel kitchen backsplash and counter surfaces. By complete chance, I was referred to Frank Custom Stainless. Amazingly, Frank answered the phone and invited my visit. Immediately, I drove to the Etna shop with my drawings in hand, and Frank and I began a relationship where I was Frank's customer, but also a relationship of friendship and rich discussion. Frank and I spoke of his early years as a sheet metal fabricator and shop proprietor. We talked stainless steel tradesmanship and about jobs that Frank had found memorable. Topics included Frank's upbringing in Italy, marriage to Mrs. Muto and their 3 children and several grandchildren. The subject of union membership was particularly interesting to me. Frank shared his fear that the trades and the U.S. as a whole might be beyond rescue. He was open with me regarding the toll his machinist trade had taken upon his health, and it's probably true that my profession as a medical doctor allowed us to talk more freely about his lung disease. But it's also true that my upbringing taught me greater respect for machinists and other tradespeople than some of my counterparts might hold, and I think Frank sensed that. So in our 15 or so meetings at the FCS shop, I learned not only respect for Frank's immense capacity as a machinist and shop proprietor, I also learned to care for Frank as a person and as a friend. On what was the final day that FCS doors were open to the public, Frank and I sat at the shop design table, the very spot where a Frank Custom Stainless visitor was most apt to find Frank in later years. That felt like a rare honor to me, and ironically so, in that our friendship had only begun months earlier. Frank's perspectives and life experience felt rich to me. Although I knew he was very non-attention seeking, I asked Frank to sit for some photographic portraits and the interviews you'll watch here. He accepted, but probably not without some reservation. But I told Frank the truth as I saw it. His story was important to document and share. I was certain Frank Muto symbolized a chapter of U.S. trades that was very likely coming to a close and not to be reopened. That chapter's closing was symbolized by the closing of FCS doors in a country where people who worked with their hands were of declining importance, and by a country deep in the throes of recovering from a pandemic. As for the stainless steel backsplash and counter that Frank made for our home, when he had absolutely no reason to take my project on when he did, I use those pieces every day as I cook, and I reflect, in a grateful way, on my time with Frank Muto in the final chapter of the Frank Custom Stainless Steel shop. The Frank Muto interview series is broken down into short segments and by topic. Filming was done in the Etna shop in the final days of Frank Custom Stainless operation. It was May 2023.